make shepherd's pie tonight, and a lot of the skills I'm using, you'll be repeating some of the ones that you've already learned. I'm going to try and be a little bit quicker because I'm turning into full-length films in some of my video clips. So what I've done already, I've peeled my potatoes and I've cut them all into very similar sized pieces. I'll show you in a moment, I'll show you now. It's just so they cook evenly, so about that size. Okay, not too big, so that will take ages to cook. And if you cut them too small, thinking, oh, I'll speed up the cooking by cutting them really small, they can dissolve into the water and disappear. So just be aware of that. It should be even sized pieces. So while those are simmering, and they'll take about up to 20 minutes, okay, because they've got to be nice and soft for mashed potato. In my other pan, I've got my mince. Now, I'm using minced beef. Shepherd's pie is traditionally lamb, but it doesn't matter. You could do corn as well if you wanted. So, shepherd's pie, I think that it's maybe beef, it's meant to be more like corn cottage pie, but it's really just the terms of what meat you use. I've cut up a few vegetables, so the familiar onion, I've stuck a little bit of garlic in mine, and I've also diced a carrot, and that's going to go in. I've got fresh herbs there. You don't have to use those if you don't want to. Just show you how to do a carrot. You can scrub the carrot if it's quite clean. You don't always have to peel them, but the traditional way is peel it. Make sure if you're washing them you get all the dirt off. And I'm just going to I've topped and tailed it, I've peeled it, and then I'm going to cut it into a size, a manageable size, so that sort of size. And then we're using a bridge cut right through the middle, okay? So you've got flat bottom, doesn't roll around. Through the middle again, okay? So you've got batons of carrot, which you could use for eating dips and things if you wanted to, or just snacks. And then with my claw, I'm going to just clover it. I'm just going to go down that and cut them. So they're quite small. If you cut carrots into big chunks for this dish, your mince and your gravy will all be ready, and you'll be waiting for the carrot to cook. So you can cut them quite small. You can cut the baton, if you've got really big carrots, into 3 like that. And then that goes into your mince or your corn with your onion, any other vegetables. If it's cooked already, like tinned peas or frozen peas, they're really quick to cook. I wouldn't bother putting those in now. I put them in right at the very end. But anything that's crunchy and raw, I would put in with the mince. And basically now, that's just going to brown off, just like you've done with your bolognese and your lasagna, all that sort of stuff. That's all we're doing at the moment, and I'm going to show you how to thicken it. Okay, so the mince is browned, the vegetables are softened, so I'm going to make gravy using a roux. Now that word you might remember from the roux sauce we made for the lasagna and for the macaroni cheese. And basically it's just when you thicken something using flour and fat. Now the fat's already in there. I've dry fried the mince, but any fat from the mince has come out. And I'm just going to put, it's about 1 heaped tablespoon of plain flour or self-raising, doesn't really matter, because you're not using it as a raising agent. And that's going to just mix in and soak up any surplus fat. You don't have to, if you're trying to cook flour out of your diet, it's not essential, but it does make a thicker gravy, and it makes more of a, it's less sloppy when you're serving it. So the gravy, the flour, has soaked up any excess juice in the bottom of the pan. And now I'm going to add a liquid. Now when we've made our cheese sauce, we added milk. This time I'm going to add stock. Now all I've done for this is I've squashed up an OXO or a stock cube and dissolved it in about 200 millilitres of hot water. Now play it by ear a little bit. If you like more gravy, add a bit more water. If you don't like lots of gravy, just keep an eye on it. This is probably the minimum to add. At this stage with our bolognese sauce, our ragu sauce, we just added a tin of tomatoes. And all you do is you can actually put these crumbly stock cubes straight into the mixture and just add water. They don't really need to be dissolved, but that is what when recipes ask for stock, that is stock. Okay, and it's quite hard to put 2 in because I've got like a lot of beef flavour. But you don't have to, you can just put 1 because they can be quite salty stock cubes. And when the mixture starts to get quite hot, I'm just going to pour that in. Do it in 2 lots or 3 lots if you're not sure. Keep an eye on how much you want. I'm going to put all that in. And make sure there's no bits of stock cube in the bottom of there because that's where the flavour is. And I'm just going to let that simmer for about 10-15 minutes. It's been cooking already. I can season it up. I'm going to leave the salt. You might want to put a couple of squirts of tomato paste in or puree in, and a splash of Worcester sauce if you wish. I like mine quite well seasoned, but you don't have to. You can put Marmite in like I've done in other recipes, and that's just going to come up to the boil. And basically what I'm doing, and then I'm going to turn it down, basically what I'm doing is just cooking the meat and the carrot, because the onion will be cooked by then. So we want the carrot to be nice and soft. And then, meanwhile, the potatoes have been drained. I've drained them in a colander or a sieve, put them back in the pan, and I've put some pepper in, a touch of salt, a splash of milk. It's on the recipe how much, but if your potatoes, just take it easy with the milk. You can always add more. Sometimes some potatoes go a bit too soft, and you can put some butter in if you want. If you're trying to be healthier, keep the butter out, and you could use even like a low-fat creme fraiche, and semi-skimmed or skimmed milk. You could do it all without any butter or milk and just do the mashed potato and give it a good mash. If you haven't got a masher, you can use a fork, and it's going to be a bit harder to do, but you could do that. And basically your aim is to get all those lumps out of the mashed potato, so it reminds me of my school dinners when I was a kid. Lumpy mashed potato, and I hate it, so I like it nice and smooth. So I'm going to spend a few minutes mashing those potatoes and getting them really nice and smooth, and then I'm going to taste it before I pop it on top. I'm going to use this pan actually, but you could put it into a casserole dish if you haven't got a pan that can go on the stove. I'm going to pop it on and use a fork to just make marks on the top. Stick a bit of grated cheese on if you like, and pop it in the oven, or you can just eat it straight away, straight ready there if you don't want to put your oven on. Okay, so I'll show you in a moment what it's going to look like. Okay, so the carrots are soft and my mince is cooked. If you were putting peas in, you could just stir frozen peas in now, or a can of peas, and they would just finish off heating up in the sauce, defrosting in the sauce. Then really I'm ready to put the potato on. The only thing you've got to decide really is if the gravy is enough gravy. My gravy's okay, I'm happy with that. Don't forget, if you want it a little bit thicker, you could put gravy granules in, but remember what I said about never adding flour to hot liquid. So you'd make a little paste with some water and some cold water and flour, and stir that in and bring it to the boil, and then it would cook out, or flour or corn flour, but never ever put it in hot liquid because it will just clump up. So hopefully that you'll remember that from the other videos. Right, so the mashed potato, I've given it a good mash. I've added some butter, milk, and I've got the consistency I want. If you like it a bit thicker, just put a bit less milk in it. And then all I'm going to do, you could dollop it all on together, and I'm not really doing anything artistic. I'm doing it so that it doesn't disappear into the mince. Because if you've got a lot of gravy, that's the only danger. So I'm doing a dot to dot really on the top. So I'm putting dots of mash all over the top. I'm getting confused with my cutlery, and let's get rid of that. So I'm putting dots of mash all over the top. I'm going to use it all up if my dish will allow, which this one will. So, and you can always freeze mashed potatoes. It freezes pretty well in Tupperware, plastic boxes or Tupperware containers for tinfoil dishes. And when it defrosts, you just need to beat it really well to make sure there's no lumps in it. Okay, and of course you can put cheese straight into the mashed potato. You don't need to, you can then have cheesy mash, and that's another dish as well. So get my trusty spatula out again, and basically I've just put dolloped all that on, and then with the back of a fork I'm going to do something that's called ruffling, which is a nice word, and I'm just going to join those dots together, and you can see that some of the gravy's wanting to come up, but that's fine. Okay, and in the oven it'll splatter up a bit, and you can make a pattern. You can do it very organised, you can do it a bit roughly like mine, and in an exam you want to perhaps pipe that as well, pipe the rosettes of mashed potato on. Then I'm going to finish off with a bit of cheese. You're increasing the fat content now, so you might not want to add that, but people in my family like a cheese nice and cheesy on top, and it'll go golden brown. So I'll just photograph that when it comes out. Basically, all you want to do is to melt the cheese. It's already hot, the dish is hot, the mashed potato is hot, and the cheese will melt, and it'll all you know, heat up together really nicely. If you want a time, probably about 20 minutes, and then it's ready to eat. Right, see you in a bit. Shepherd's pie, it's been in the oven till it's toasty on top. You can see how the cheese has made it all nice and golden. It's been in there for about 20 minutes and nice and warms through. So hope you enjoy that. See you soon.